Hi, this is Howard Tiersky, CEO of Moving Interactive. Welcome to another installment in our Digital Innovation Series. Today's topic is how to align your team around a solution. Innovation projects almost always need teams of people to participate in conceiving a solution, designing it, building it, testing it, marketing and selling it, improving it, and more. But at the start, innovation can seem like such a wide open thing. Everyone may have a different perspective about what should be done. One group wants to change the form factor of the product. Another wants to focus on its features. Another on its pricing models or distribution methods. How do you figure out the right answers and then get everyone on the same page, focused on a common innovation goal, you might ask? Geez, you guys ask some hard questions. Well, for those of you who have been with us for a while in this Digital Innovation Series, you're probably already guessing what I'm going to say, which is that we here at Moving Interactive have, yes, another model for how we approach the process of identifying the most relevant opportunity areas for innovation and build group consensus around how to approach them. You'll need to figure out how to precisely adapt it to your situation, or we can help you, of course, if you'd like to give us a call. But the model should certainly provide you a good starting framework. So the model is a pyramid with 5 levels, with each level building on the one below it. I'll start from the bottom and define each of the 5 steps, and then we'll walk through them in a little more detail. The first and bottom step of the pyramid is your objective or outcomes. And by that we mean the outcome your business is seeking. If the team has been asked to innovate, to what end? What's the goal? Is it to grow total market share, to penetrate new markets, to respond to a competitive offer, to reduce costs, improve reuse? You need to start with a mission. Then the second step is gaps. What problem or problems are you trying to solve through your innovation? If everything is 100% perfect, it's going to be hard to innovate and achieve the outcomes you've defined in step 1. Though fortunately this is rarely an issue. However, that doesn't mean everyone on the team actually agrees on what the problem is or what specific problems should be targeted through innovation. And that's what this step is about. If we can agree on the outcome we want and agree on what it is that's preventing the outcome at the moment, the gap, then we've achieved victory at this second level of the process. So then the third step is solutions. Once a group has agreed on a problem, it doesn't necessarily mean they agree on how to solve the problem. And of course, there are often multiple possibilities. So this step is about making the best choices and gaining consensus around how we will solve the problem via some sort of solution. The fourth step is implementation. We might all agree on the solution we want, but perhaps not on how to actually accomplish it. That's what this step is about. And then the last step is metrics and accountability. How we will measure success. How will we know if we've succeeded? So to review, first we make sure we agree on what our objective is. Then we see if we can agree on where there are problems or gaps that are preventing the objective from being fully realized today. Then we see if we can agree on how to solve that problem, what the solution is. Then we see if we can define the best answer to how to implement the solution. And lastly, how we'll measure to see if we've succeeded. So if you have a group that isn't in agreement about what direction to take your innovation efforts, the first thing you want to do is perhaps pull out this model and try to figure out what level are they disagreeing about. Do they basically agree on the goal, the objective, say to create a new hair product that appeals to tweens, but disagree on where there are gaps in the current market? Or does everyone agree that what's needed is a product that will straighten hair like the current product but keep it straight longer, but perhaps disagree on what type of chemical formulation will achieve that goal? That's a solution disagreement. Or does everyone agree on the basic solution, but some feel it should be manufactured internally and some feel it should be outsourced? That's an implementation disagreement. And if we agree on that, but some people believe that ultimately it's product line profitability that should be the ultimate measure of success, whereas others feel it should be market share, now you're at the top level of the pyramid discussing metrics and accountability. It's extremely helpful to recognize first where everyone already does agree, so you can zoom in to the level of the pyramid that is the source of the disagreement. And by the way, disagreement is not bad. The process of teams debating alternatives and working through solutions, if executed in a positive manner, and if it moves along at an appropriate pace, is a healthy exercise for getting both a superior outcome as well as having teams really invested in the resulting decision. So this model is meant to help make that process a bit more structured and productive. For example, you could probably see how each level is dependent on the other. If there is a dispute over manufacturing, but we really haven't even agreed on what the solution is, it's probably premature. If we are arguing about what gaps to go after, but we aren't even all on the same page as to what our actual outcomes are, we should probably focus there first. Okay, so if we can move through each level, from bottom to top, debate a bit, and then all agree, wonderful, we're done. But what if we don't agree? How can we move forward? So let's walk through each of the 5 levels and go over a couple of tips for each level regarding how to get the right answers and build consensus. So let's start at the bottom again. What if we don't all agree on the outcomes? Well, very often an innovation project is kicked off for a specific purpose. The objectives for the innovation should come from a corporate strategy process or from someone in leadership, which should be identifying to the innovation team what their charter is. This, after all, is really the seed of the team's work. If this has been done in an unclear way, then clarification should be sought from those who have anointed the innovation team with their mission. One good approach is to allow the team to frame the questions back to the stakeholders. Very often an executive who has initiated an innovation process may not have thought the outcomes through with complete clarity. So if the charter is simply create a next generation furniture polish, then the team should frame back to the stakeholders a set of questions regarding their preferences and priorities about what they're hoping to gain from this next generation. So let's stick with furniture polish for a minute. Let's say the team gets a clarification that the goal is to move the company from number 4 in the US market to number 1 over 3 years in furniture polish sales through supermarkets and other retailers. Okay, that's quite a bit more specific and quite different than, for example, the goal of producing a polish of similar quality to today's product but for 50% of the manufacturing cost, or a goal of creating a next-gen polish with the same efficacy and cost of today's product but made with 100% green ingredients. Okay, so then at Tier 2, we want to identify the gaps, what problems we can solve. Usually, new innovations are successful because they enable people in some way that pre-existing products don't do. The best way to get clarity on the gaps is generally some form of research. For example, at Moving Interactive, we do a lot of ethnographic research, where we observe how consumers engage in certain tasks, cleaning their home, for example. And from that process and follow-up interviews, we may determine some of the gaps or points of pain with many of the furniture polish products on the market. They're smelly. They don't work on all types of wood. They're in opaque cans, so it's hard to know when you're about to run out, etc. Customers may or may not be actively complaining about these problems or limitations, but we can observe them through research and identify them. Now, you don't necessarily need to narrow it down to only one single problem or gap that you're looking to solve. You may determine that there is a set of high potential problems, which, if you could solve some, you'd have a product that has substantially increased appeal to consumers. You probably, at this point, want a cross-functional team of marketers, engineers, packaging designers, chemists, and others who can collectively determine possible solutions to the various identified gaps, along with their likely cost and level of implementation risk. So as you transition to the solution level, you may start to identify a number of different possible ways to address perhaps a few different gaps. You need to determine which solution approach you want to go with, and so here are a few approaches to help with that. One is to develop prototypes of different solutions and test them with consumers. The process of creating the prototype products will start to inform you about your ability to actually create a working product that matches the solution concept. And furthermore, you can then get those prototypes into the hands of consumers to gather feedback and get insights on the level of interest they generate. With that information, you can then iterate the solution and test again until we either have a solution with projected successful market traction or conclude we're barking up the wrong tree. Once you have a solution, there may be multiple ways to manufacture it, distribute it, market it, etc., and disagreement about how to proceed. These, of course, are disputes at the level of implementation. These disputes can sometimes be some of the most political in an organization. The best approach for determining the right implementation options and gaining consensus will, of course, vary situationally. But here are a few tactics that can be helpful. First, look for comparable products, whether yours or competitors, and study the implementation approach that was most successful, or problems that were encountered in the implementation. Second, many implementation approaches rely on various outside partners, whether suppliers, other vendors, distribution channel partners, etc. Involve them in the process as well, as they may have a broader perspective. Third, look for opportunities to test multiple approaches. While it may increase complexity initially, it may also help you substantially optimize your long-term implementation approach. And fourth, very often implementation strategies can be changed along the way. Seek opportunities to give yourself future flexibility to go in a different direction if the initial decision doesn't turn out optimally. And lastly, the fifth level, metrics of success. These are critically important, not just for calibrating everyone's Christmas bonus, but to help guide a wide range of decisions about pricing, marketing, promotions, and more. Hopefully, if the team is aligned on the first four levels, this may be easy to define. If not, similar to the first level, it may be time to go back to the executive stakeholders, whether it's the CEO, divisional president, or other person with P&L responsibility. Ideally, again, have the team frame the questions and highlight the trade-offs. If a metric of near zero warranty claims might lead to more expensive manufacturing and therefore a higher priced product, is that the right priority? The more these questions can be quantified and the trade-off shown, the easier it will be for the decision maker to provide guidance. Okay, so those are the 5 levels we go through in making decisions about a new or iterated product or service and gaining consensus amongst the team. Hopefully, this is a model that has practical application in your innovation processes. If so, please let us know how you're using it. We love feedback. You can write to us at info@movinginteractive.com or post on any of our many social media touchpoints. And I'd also encourage you to check out the growing list of episodes in this digital innovation series as well, and some of the other articles and thought leadership material we have on our website at movinginteractive.com. With that, this is Howard Tiersky, CEO of Moving Interactive. Thanks for watching, and as always, I wish you tremendous success with all your innovation initiatives.